Evening, I'm Joe Solo, welcome to my shed. Great to be supporting Eagle and Rachel and Alex tonight and doing it for the Kids Festival. A massive tribute to all three of them for the work they've put in over the full length of COVID. There's been music flying at you from the four corners, and I know from organising stuff like that myself how hard it is to keep it up and keep going. So, you know, massive shout out to them for what they're doing for others less fortunate, you know. And I hope you've enjoyed the day. Like most of you, I've probably been having to dip in and out. It's my first day off in 12 days, so I'm kind of, you know, trying to catch up with a whole hell of a lot of stuff as well as tuning in and out of music. So I hope you've had a cracker, and I hope you enjoy this. This is a song I wrote for an amazing woman called Pauline Town, who runs a pub called The Station in Ashton-under-Lyne. And that pub these days is a drop-in centre for anybody struggling. And her motto is, if I have to save the world one life at a time, then that's what I'm going to do. Summer waiting for the spark of fire up there. She rolls up her sleeves and says, let's make a start. She says the poverty's a punishment that has no crime, and if I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. One life at a time, one life at a time. If I have to, I will save the world one life at a time, yeah. She said a lot of good people gonna die out there, and all the feet that greeted them who never care. And yeah, down it I might well look like it's a mountain to climb. If I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. One life at a time, one life at a time. If I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. One life at a time, one life at a time. If I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. That's right. I just can't bear to see good people going without, and I've every right to stand and fight, to scream and to shout. You see, the face to justify it is the last to care, and I may not have done much, but what I got I was sharing with her. She disappeared out there into the dark, spread the love she's got inside her big, big heart. And remember, if your mountain seems too steep to climb, you can always try to save the world one life at a time. One life at a time, one life at a time. If I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. One life at a time, one life at a time. If I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. Yeah, if I have to, I will save the world one life at a time. Right, now Pauline is a central figure in something called We Shall Overcome, which we set up about 5 years ago, almost 5.5 years ago now, as a response from the artistic community to government austerity. Now, it kind of escapes your notice as the political situation changes that events like this and events like We Shall Overcome are becoming more commonplace, because they have to be, because it doesn't matter what politicians are gassing on about in the press this week. At the end of the day, people are still going hungry on our streets, people are still jobless, people are still homeless, and we can shout all we want and agree with them or disagree with them all we want, but nothing changes unless we roll up our sleeves and get stuck in. And this is a song about that. It's about my disappointment and my disillusion with the Labour Party and sometimes the Labour movement. But that never manifests itself in despair, don't worry. I just think sometimes you have to take it back to basics and remember that the bit of socialism that's the active bit is the social bit, the people bit. You start with people and you won't go far wrong. This road we're on will never change a thing, my brother. Stumbling from one defeat into another, waiting in the darkness for the sun to rise. We need to agitate and educate and organise. Why are we anticipating opposition, waiting for a set to take a class position with counter-revolutionary compromise? We need to agitate and educate and organise. So sing up, sing loud, sing out, sing proud, and let's just see how far we can get. Stand up, stand tall, 'cause at the end of it all, yeah, the future isn't over yet. Changes only ever came because we forced them. Crumbs from off the table when the boss endorsed them. Won around but never ever claimed the prize. We need to agitate and educate and organise. So sing up, sing loud, sing out, sing proud, and let's just see how far we can get. Stand up, stand tall, 'cause at the end of it all, yeah, the future isn't over yet. Sing up, sing loud, sing out, sing proud, and let's just see how far we can get. Stand up, stand tall, 'cause at the end of it all, yeah, the future isn't over yet. The future isn't over yet. The future isn't over yet. Okay. Right, probably can't have escaped you notice the election going on in the States right now. I wrote this song about the situation over there. It kind of alarms me that you can have a sort of child in a man's suit president, and then the only opposition there is somebody who's not the child in a man's suit president. This is the worrying thing. We'll see it over here come the next election. We'll have a candidate on the right and then a candidate that's effectively promising a return to the centre right that was so successful prior to 2015, 2016. You can see what I mean. You're going to have an outlandishly right-wing candidate or a return to the status quo. That's a worrying thing, isn't it? If you're going to cheer home the establishment, then you've got a problem. Sometimes you have to look at these things from, it's not a case of winning or losing, it's losing and losing even worse, isn't it? And you shouldn't ever despair at that. You should just remember what I said earlier, you know. People. Start with people. Forget them. Start with people. And you won't go far wrong. Can I please get a lyrical witness for the march of the blind and the witless, to the drop at the cliff top where there's a queue for the view and it's looked down there, yeah. See the city with the streets like a war zone, see the floor and the hole in the ozone, see the child there standing in the man's suit, finger on the button wearing daddy's little jack boots. We can do this, but we need help. Stand up, 'cause the world won't change itself. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, 'cause the world won't change itself. No, nah, nah. What they got ain't nothing in the long run. It's not a mix you can fix with a 6-gun. Like a child there standing in the mansard, finger on the button wearing daddy's little jacket. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, cause the well won't change itself. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, cause the well won't change itself. 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 Stand up, stand up, stand up, yeah. You think you're rich, yeah? How come then we're all skin? You think you're free now? Better read the small print. You think you're better cause of colour, class and creed, yeah? As people starve on you by shit you'll never need, nah. You got the right now to kill me with a handgun, or run me over if I won't stand for the anthem. Lies with fries and a bucket full of reason. Gagging when you swallow, then there's terror or treason. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, cause the well won't change itself. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, cause the well won't change itself. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, cause the well won't change itself. We can do this, but we need your help. Stand up, but the well won't change. Right, all day I've been in and out, but for the most part I've been doing a little bit of repairs to the outer panels of this here shed. See, thanks to you guys, I did a crowdfunding, a big gig a month or so ago, a couple of months back, and I had this place re-roofed, which, because it was pouring in with water every time it rained, and there was all kinds of problems and all sorts of things propping it up. It's safe now from the top, but the outer panels are made of chipboard and they've blown. Now I've been trying to get enough materials to do it, but you can't get them anymore, and the ones that you can are like costly AF. So I've had to do a little bit of a puncture repair kit job on the corner there, using using what materials I could get. Now it's a pretty good fix, I'm quite proud of it, but in the process of it I used a load of expanding foam, you know, to give it a little bit of insulation and a bit of stickiness to stop the mice and that getting in. And forgot to put gloves on, got it all over my hands. Hands now really, really, really sticky. Sticking to fretboard of guitar, not a great combination when trying to move up and down like that. So what happened was, my hands got stuck in the B position, completely forgot to do the right verse on that. So for those of you that do know that song and realise that it's gone wrong, there's an explanation for you. Proper sticky hands. Right, whatever you do, don't ever do that. Use gloves. It even says on the tin to use gloves. It says it's corrosive. I can agree with that. It is. Anyway, I digress. One of my favourite songs from the 60s, written by Sam Cooke, a song called Change Is Gonna Come, and some brilliant versions of that. If you don't know the song, look it up. Sam Cooke's is brilliant, Aretha Franklin's is brilliant, Otis Redding's is brilliant. It's just such a beautiful song, and it really needs one of those big soul voices. So I'm not going to sing it. But I did a kind of a song that used that as its starting point. This is called That Change Is Still Gonna Come. Though the traitors may all turn against us, and the cowards may cower in fear, we stand on the rubble of hope now, but a red flag is still flying in. So raise up the banners unbeaten, and let's strike up the colliery band, 'cause we have a bond here between us they can't understand. It may seem better away now than ever, Don't worry, we've been here before. And just 'cause you might lose the battle, it don't mean you can't win the war. From match scales to miners and dockers, from the steelworks right back to the mill, we are the hearts of a spirit that they cannot kill. It may seem better way now than ever, and the edges to turn and to run. We'll stand tall and stay strong, 'cause the fight still goes on, and that change is still gonna come. Yeah, that change is still gonna come. It may seem further away now than ever, and the edges to turn and to run. We stand tall and stay strong, but the fight it goes on, and that change is still gonna come. Yeah, that change is still gonna come. Takes a bit out of you. Right. Today, I had to do another event too, which was also massively important to me. Because almost 2 years ago now, we unveiled a monument to Hull's International Brigade volunteers. It's fantastic, No Passaran Memorial in Hull. If you're ever in the city, go and check it out. It's brilliant. It's on the I guess on the south side of Queen's Gardens, just behind Guildhall, just in front of the Unison building. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it bears the names of 10 volunteers that left Hull to go and fight fascism in Spain. It was a great honour to sing at the opening of that, and it was a great honour to do a little bit of a speech and a song today in the rededication ceremony. We had to do it online for obvious reasons, but it's just so great that these things crack on anyway. I know there's a sort of fatigue when it comes to live streaming, but I really, honestly, music is the thing that binds us. It sounds cheesy, but it is the sound of empathy. You know what I mean? It's the thing that we can all connect with, you know. And without that sort of live music thing, I think there's something really missing from society, just psychologically. So although this is a flat two-dimensional sort of facsimile of the real thing, I appreciate that, I understand that, but it's still important that it's out there. It's still important that we keep it up, and we don't just sort of like park ourselves and wait for venues to open again. We kind of, because it's not about us as musicians, it's about connections, you know. And if you're not making those connections, then I don't think you're really a musician, you know. I don't think you really understand the job you're doing, because it sure as hell ain't selling records. This is a song I wrote for those 10 people on that monument. It name checks them all, and it's called "To Die With Your Fist in the Sky." When now the minute's on, I come down here alone, just to remember these 10 names set in stone. Joe Layton, Sam Walters there, and Richard Bett and Clive. Them left over, and each of them survived. I like to think I'm helping keep that memory alive when I sing "No Passaran." To die with your fist in the sky, to die as you live, yeah, live as you die, fighting for your truth and not another man's lie. to die with your fist in the sky. Whoa, Rita Stewart drove an ambulance to Spain, paid for by workers grafting Clydeside factory rain. And once in Spain she turned her hand to saving lives. There's many men who made it thanks to Frida's sacrifice. I like to think I'm helping keep that memory alive when I sing no passer to die with your fist in the sky. To die as you live, yeah, live as you die, fighting for your truth and not another man's lie. To die with your fist in the sky. Whoa, Bentley and Waddle, well, they died side by side. Forever brothers, now in death, just as in life. And Morris Miller died out there on the front line. Big Jack, I've told you about 100,000 times. I like to think I'm helping keep their memory alive when I sing no passer to die with your fist in the sky. To die as you live, yeah, live as you die, fighting for your truth and not another man's lie. To die with your fist in the sky. Your fist in the sky. To die as you lived, yeah, live as you die, fighting for your truth, not another man's lie. To die with your fist in the sky. Okay. My friends and comrades down in Hull have started something that I've been ranting and raving about since COVID started, and that is something called Hull Unity Shop. It's basically part food bank, part advice centre, part community solidarity service, and it's there for anyone. It's a politically motivated food bank, I guess, driven by class consciousness, I suppose. It's there for everybody, because we know that the right wing, the far right, they thrive on the bitterness and the anger and the recrimination that comes from poverty. And we know that the far right will be active in communities up and down the UK trying to turn people against against members of their own class who just happen to have different colour skin or have been born in a different land. Now that ain't on, and if we can ward that off anywhere we can, we will, and that's what Unity Shop's about, providing solidarity, making sure people are fed, making sure people are housed, making sure people have what they need, so that we can demonstrate what our politics looks like on the ground in communities, not just in dusty books in the far corners of libraries, but real and active living and breathing politics to ward off the right wing. So absolute massive big up to all involved in Hull Trades Council, because without their energy and commitment and passion, that would have never got off the ground, and we're hoping that other places will follow the lead, because it's going to be needed, and it's going to be needed everywhere. Right, total change of subject this. It's going it's going out to my good friend and comrade Mick Lanigan of the Hatfield Brigade, who was a big Northern Soul man back in the day, and I wrote him this song. It's basically about resilience, but it name checks just about every little bit of Northern Soul that I could possibly get into one song. Enjoy. I'm the double deck, I'm the vinyl case, I'm the diet pills, I'm the all-night chase of the treble, lost trying to find the bass, yeah, I'm a Northern Soul. I'm the 9 to 5, I'm the drive out west, I'm the Saturday night, Sunday best as the week's with bricks, I ride the crest, yeah, I'm a Northern Soul. My heart is an all-nighter that will never ever stop. Keep your beats per minute, dog, I'm dancing till I drop. Just wait me to play it safe, no, no. I'm a Northern Soul, and I keep the faith. I'm the mirror ball, little ball out wall like the talcum slip on the polished floor. I'm the hinges kicked off the bolted door, yeah, I'm a Northern Soul. My heart is an all-nighter that will never ever stop. Keep your beats per minute, dog, I'm dancing till I drop. Just wait me to play it safe, no, no. I'm a Northern Soul, and I keep the faith. The long lost song, I'm the classic track from the dusty Detroit vinyl rack that the crackling needles bringing back, yeah, I'm a Northern Soul. I'm the broken hat with the soul boy feel at the Mecca and the casino heel. I'm the golden torch, the twisted wheel, yeah, I'm a Northern Soul. My heart is an all-nighter that will never ever stop. Keep your beats per minute, dog, I'm dancing till I drop. Just wait me to play it safe, no, no. I'm a Northern Soul, and I keep the Northern Soul. I'm a Northern Soul, I'm a Northern Soul, and I keep the faith. Oh, that's a lot of things going on in that. Right. Alright for time, aren't we? Okay, we've just, on the 4th of October, passed the anniversary of the Battle of Cable Street, when in 1936 the East End of London rose up and drove Mosley off the streets. And I'll be forever indebted to Paul Simmons from the Men They Couldn't Hang for writing The Ghost of Cable Street, because because that song kind of like intrigued me, you know, enough to sort of look into the whole period. And through a knowledge of the 1930s and the rise of fascism and the rise of working class movements to stop it, I learned so much that I need today, you know, so much that you can draw parallels from, you can see and understand the cyclical nature of history and why what's happening now is happening and how it's being used to create something else. And you learn that from history, and Paul Simmon's song, The Ghost of Cable Street, if you don't know it, look it up. If you don't know the anti-fascist movement in the 1930s and how close Britain came to having major fascist parties, you need to know that stuff. Look it up. But the reason I'm telling you that is that Cable Street was just the famous one, you know. There was battles in Liverpool, there was battles in Leeds, there was battles in Southampton, there was Corporation Fields in Hull. But the first one that we can see where there was organised resistance, not just sort of sporadic crowds who would shout them down, but organised resistance to Mosley marching onto town centres, was Stockton-on-Tees on the 10th of September 1933, a full 3 years before Cable Street. And so I wrote on this song because I figured that, you know, people of Teesside should be honoured for getting there first. And I hope I've done them justice. It should be called Welcome to Stockton-on-Tees, only if I called it that, the tourist board would probably use it. And you know, a bit like they used Born in the USA in the 80s, and completely missed the point of it, I think. So I've called it The Welcome instead. Anyway, here we go. September the 10th, 1933. That was the day the British Union of Fascists marched across the river from Thornaby Weir. Jackboots on Victoria, bound for our Market Square, we're huddled in alleyways. We were waiting right there. Fists were flying, voices crying, you'll not bring our town to its knees. No, no, devil save them, we sure gave them a welcome. A welcome to Stockton-on-Tees. Riding back to the riverside, kicked 'em down Silver Street. One of them swung a chair leg there and found my fist in his teeth. See that scar on my knuckle there? Souvenir of that day. When they came, they were marching, boy. When they left, they were running away. Fists were flying, voices crying, you'll not bring this town to its knees. No, no, devil save them, we sure gave them a welcome to Stockton-on-Tees. war should have killed them off, but there they are on the news, hating people they've never met without walking a mile in their shoes. This fight, well, it's your fight now, 'cause my life, well, it's history. But if they march on your market square, they give 'em a kicking from me. Fists were flying, voices crying, you'll not bring this town to its knees. No, no, devil save 'em, we sure give 'em a welcome to Stockton, oh welcome, welcome to Stockton, oh welcome to Stockton on Tees. Okay. Right, I'm going to go quiet on your ass because I want to sing this song that I hope kind of encapsulates a lot of what I've been banging on about between songs. But this is called Old Empire Island, and it's about the sort of, I guess, the cliches and the caricatures that make up the way we see ourselves and the way that we reflect our sense of ourselves. It's not about us and them sort of politics. I don't really agree with that. I don't think that gets us anywhere. I think we need to find common ground and work together. But it is about how we end up in different boxes and how we interpret the things we see before us. Now, if you're wound up in the way that you understand the history through a flag, how you can be led up blind alleys. So here we go. 45 more men, women and children died fleeing a war zone last night, while some bloke who panicked bought 300 bog rolls says they should have stayed there to fight. While upstairs the son of his father hawks hit tweeting under some dumb made up name. Behold the foot soldiers of old Empire Island who shoot before they've taken him. In the dinghy the desperate child clings to mother who cries at the fair sight of land, while the cameramen shoot the reporters who use the word migrant as much as they can. While they're on the shoreline, the Union Jack junkies are getting their fix from the sun. A line of foot soldiers for old Empire Island who march to the beat of its drum. One more needless corpse and one more needless coffin is lowered down into the ground. while inside the leaders who cut and then cut tell us there's not enough to go around. While huddled in doorways, the hungry and desperate can't get their words out for tears. All of them silenced by old Empire Island, drowned by the sound of the jeers. Somebody stands up to speak and he says there's a reason that this is our lot. And if you wanna know why we're poor, then don't look at the dinghy, look at the yacht. But inside the rich draw up plans for tomorrow, while the poor is still past them the pen. An old Empire Island ships bombs to the war zone, and the whole thing starts over again. 45 more men, women and children died fleeing a war zone last night. Okay, last song. I've just about got enough time to sing it if I do it fast. Thanks very much for tuning in and listening. I hope the donations link's been posted on here and that you can spare a few quid for the cars. Massive thank you to Alex and to Eagle and to everybody involved in making today work. People should have the chorus of this song tattooed on the inside of their eyeballs so that when they close their eyes they can remember what it's all about. Thanks a lot for listening. Good night. When I was young, no more than a kid, I used to walk up for a Sunday side, yeah. This big like and a psycho skid, he took my ankles and my knees and my pride. Well, my mate Johnny pulled me back to my feet. He said, you never let him put you down. Next thing I knew, the whistle blew and I big like we laid out on the ground. And John said, take on one of us, you take on all of us. They pick on you, they pick on me, yeah. Take on one of us, you take on all of us, and that's the way it's gonna be. Hey! So time went on and I grew up, at least I learned to bluff the stuff that I like, yeah. Being young and dumb, I pushed my luck, but I knew John would always have my back, yeah. Was in some bar when this lad took exception to my face, the way the young men do. But John stepped in and without question said, I wouldn't, son, if I were you. And he said, take on one of us, you take on all of us. They pick on you, they pick on me, yeah. You take on one of us, you take on all of us, and that's the way it's gonna be, yeah. And I know you're hating, and the wolves are gathered in a pack, yeah. And I see there's some out there deserting. Did you think I wouldn't have your back? Well, see, I remember when a good friend showed me what it takes to see your troubles through. Through thick and thin, a friend, he never failed me, so there ain't no way I bail on you. So let's say, take on one of us, you take on all of us. They pick on you, they pick on me. Yeah, you take on one of us, you take on all of us, and that's the way it's gotta be. Ooh, you take on one of us, you take on all of us. They pick on you, they pick on me. Yeah, you take on one of us, you take on all of us, and that's the way it's gonna be. Yeah, you take on one of us, you take on all of us. They pick on you, they pick on me. Yeah, you take on one of us, you take on all of us, and that's the way it's gonna be. Good night. Thanks for tuning in.